Okay, so hey, welcome to our first Zoom meeting here. The webinar was a bit of a fail initially, but we've organized a Zoom meeting, so we're still going to record this and play it for those of you guys who were not able to join the Zoom meeting for some reason. So yeah, welcome Chad. Thanks for joining us today to talk about all the awesome things that CAMBA are working on this season.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, and cheers.
Cheers.
Nice. Okay, so the first, whoops, I need to drink as well. All right, so the first thing I wanted to ask you about, Chad, is yeah, how long you've been mountain biking for? And yeah.
Yeah, well, not as long as some people think. I started mountain biking, actually my first mountain bike I got in I think it was 1987. Mm-hmm. It was from Canadian Tire, and it was, everyone else was riding BMXs, and they had this cheap looking, weird, it was like a 10-speed with a straight bar, you know, hardtail. So I bought it, and everyone laughed at me. It's like, what is that thing you're riding? It's got gears. It looks like a BMX. Yeah. It was horrible, but that was the first time. And then I think I started kind of really riding in about 1991, 92. Had some Rocky Mountains. Lived in Drayton Valley for a while. Rode some trails there. Moved back to Calgary, and then I kind of stopped riding in the mid 90s. Actually, no, I stopped riding in 2000. And then again, Sarah and I got a place in Canmore in 2013 and said, well, we should probably get a mountain bike if we're going to be out in Canmore. So we both bought some new bikes, and I've been riding since 2013 nonstop. Nice. Yeah.
It's awesome that you guys have a place in Canmore as well. It's a pretty awesome spot.
It is. We are very lucky, and it's kind of like Canmore is the place where our community is, and Calgary is the place where we work.
Yeah, fair enough.
Try to be there as much as we can.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Okay, and then what is your favorite mountain biking trail?
I mean, in our area, I would say I like the Odyssey Trail at the Nordic Center, or portions, you know, getting to the Odyssey. There's so many different ways to do it. And it's got a good combination of some really good climbing, some fun descents. You could decide to take Terminator if you don't want to take Odyssey. And then when you get to the bottom of the current Odyssey, you can go down, you know, No Homers, or you can take EKG. There's just so many options. I like that. I also like Prospector a lot too in Exshaw. Yeah.
That's a good one as well. Yeah. And then you're also a member of the Steeds Enduro team. So how long have you been doing that for?
This is my third season with Steeds. And yeah, Steeds has been really, really good. It's actually helped me with my skills. We have weekly tech sessions. It's got me into enduro racing, which I've never done before. It's run by a fantastic crew. The founders, Marcus Henry and Simon Hirota, are amazing. And it kind of intrigued me because it was a mountain bike sort of racing group for sort of non-racers, or racing is just only one aspect of it, but a lot of it's giving back to the community, volunteering, and also having this, being ambassadors for mountain biking, really. And that's one thing we really try to do on the trails, is really, really be nice. And you know, when you come across a biker or a non-biker, like, just, you know, go out of your way to be extra nice, because we're sharing the trail with everyone. And that's what attracted me to them. And everyone that's a member of Steeds, and it's a very small, I think they cap it at 22 people, shares that common interest and that common value. Yeah.
Well, I was really excited to be a new team member this year. Hopefully we'll be able to get out and do a few things.
I know. We've done some Zwift rides already, but you know, it's not the same.
Yeah. Well, it's a virtual world right now, so. Okay, so, and how did you get involved with CAMBA?
So probably it was late 2015, after being in Canmore for almost 2 years. just kind of realized that, and travel. We travel a lot to mountain bike. We go to Moab and Sedona and Bend and, in Canada, Squamish, Whistler, all that kind of stuff. I started to, in those travels, really started to realize that the way that mountain bike trails are maintained and built and advocated for is something that we didn't have in Canmore. I was kind of surprised about it. And I guess I was a little frustrated in the lack of maybe, the lack of advocacy efforts in the area, and then the lack of coordinated maintenance and the lack of new trails. I mean, it was kind of a bunch of things when you compare yourself to a lot of other areas, and it's tough to compare to Squamish and NSMBA at the North Shore because they've been around for, they're pioneers, right, of the associations.
Right.
So I remember going into Rebound Cycle and just kind of talking about it with someone, and they're like, you need to meet Wanda Bogdan. She is talking just like you're talking, and she's talking about it now. So I didn't know who Wanda was, and we had a mutual friend, Audrey Duval, who runs the female mountain bike coaching group, Shred Sisters. And she put us in contact. And next thing you know, we had some meetings with land managers, with like-minded people, with trail builders. And next thing you know, CAMBA was kind of founded about 6 months later in April 2016. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was. And we were very lucky. We had, a good core of, we have the bike shops who have been involved with CAMBA. The Canmore bike shops have been involved with CAMBA from its inception, the cafe and Rebound and Outside Bike and Ski. There's a very good trail builder who is our trails director, Andrew Dickinson, who's been there since day one. And we rely a lot on him for his expertise and his trail knowledge. So we kind of ended up with a really, really great crew and a great board.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. So, okay. So, and then just educate our members on what trails and areas does CAMBA look after or is responsible for?
We were very, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just Canmore. That's why we call it the Canmore and Area Mountain Bike Association. So we kind of cover, we don't go into the national park. So the Bow Valley Mountain Bike Association is there, and they do a fantastic job. When we actually started CAMBA, we went to them, to Rob and Eric, and asked, what do you think we should do? Should we just come under your umbrella? I mean, you're the Bow Valley, and we're happy to do that.
Yeah.
And they said, no, you need to do it within your own community. We'd love to have you, and you're welcome to use our tools and our trailer and whatever you need, but we think it's important for you to actually be situated within your community and represent that specifically. So we took their advice, and we wanted to include, Razor's Edge isn't really in Canmore, it's in the area. Exshaw is a community that we spend a lot of time, and the MD of Bighorn, talking to them. So yeah, it's kind of like from the park boundary to probably Razor's Edge, and then south and north of there a little bit. It's kind of our catchment area.
Fair enough. And then within Canmore, I know that you work with the Nordic Center as well, and you've got an initiative at the Nordic Center.
We do. It's the area is interesting because there's so many land managers that are the stewards for the Crown lands. So Alberta Parks is in Canmore, who run the provincial park, the Canmore Nordic Center. Public Lands is there as well. They've been called different things, but basically they manage the public lands in the province that are not designated as parks. So they're also in the area. And we have private land managers, Three Sisters Mountain Village, and then we have municipal, the town of Canmore, and then we have a lot of private landowners that are kind of situated throughout the area that are individuals or small development companies. So that's at the Nordic Center. We've been working a lot with that group of staff from Alberta Parks on many things, but one of the things at the Nordic Center that we've done is put forward a trail proposal for an enduro freeride trail that would be specifically, it's about 2 kilometers of descent. Nice. And we've got that approved in principle, and which is fantastic. We presented to the Canada Trails Committee. So the next step is fundraising, which is it's proven to be more difficult than probably the approval itself.
Fair enough. And I guess on the fundraising note, how much money do you think that trail will cost to build?
You know, we've kind of estimated right now at about $120,000.
Mm.
It is 2 kilometers. Not, you know, it's not, the dollars per meter isn't the same for every meter of that trail. The first third of the trail has a lot of drops and jumps, and it's very machine built, which is where
Yep.
where the cost comes in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
The bottom third of the trail is more typical, kind of conventional steep trail through the woods, which would be less and would be more volunteer built. So I think
Yeah.
there's, you know, once we kind of get some, you know, we were anticipating and preparing for a fundraising plan this year, and then when COVID-19 hit, kind of things changed, right? So
Fair enough.
we'll continue to prepare for that and see if there's ways for us to get those costs down, and that's something we'll be working on. While we can't fundraise right now and while we can't build it, we'll do some more preparation work and try to get the costs down. So
Yeah, fair enough. And then I guess another question in terms of how do you estimate the number of hours, especially I guess volunteer hours for a trail like that, for the 2 kilometer trail?
it's so most of that cost estimate that we used in our proposal and that we used when we applied for some provincial grants was third party consultant or contracted builders.
Yep.
We've learned through experience, and we've learned from a lot of other jurisdictions that are doing trail projects, that it's very, very difficult to lean on volunteers to build a trail from scratch.
Yeah.
It's something that we're doing with one of our projects. Well, actually, we're doing it with both of our projects. But a lot of trails are built by getting a crew to come in, a professional trail crew, using machinery and getting it done in a fraction of the time. So
yeah,
it's the hours that were used for that trail were more so for hours for equipment rentals, mini excavator rentals, and earth moving and bringing in dirt and clearing trees. So a lot of it was contractor based. I can't remember exactly what our volunteer estimate was. But that volunteer estimate was kind of like for the third phase, once we're in the trees.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I would find that hard to estimate as well, really.
It's hard because you need to kind of figure out, okay, well, who's going to show up to volunteer, right? And it's getting volunteers to come out is it's a challenge. I think it's a challenge for every mountain bike association that I've talked to. I think it's a challenge more up here than it is maybe in the States, is that our summers are super short. I mean, we don't have a lot of time, and the people that are volunteering to build mountain bike trails are typically avid mountain bikers, and they need to make a decision. Are they willing to spend a day, maybe a rare sunny day, building a trail or riding? And I get it. It's hard. And then you compound that with other things like, sometimes, the rains or the smoke, or you start to kind of look at the days available to do a build. It's not a ton.
Yeah, I don't know. The trail-based days that I've been involved with, though, is so fun, and it's a great way to meet people in the community, the mountain bike community as well, and just give back to the trails.
It is fun, and you're right. Like I think it's fun to meet the people, and you learn a lot about, you take, I at least I did, I took it for granted what I was riding before. Now I ride differently with the knowledge that I've gained through CAMBA and through going to trail sessions and being part of trail design and putting in proposals. Like I think of a trail differently. I look at it, I approach it differently. It's pretty cool when you can actually ride something that you've had your hands on.
Yeah, definitely.
It's people might roll their eyes at it or something, but honestly it's rewarding, and I really encourage everyone to try it.
Definitely. Well, I'm hoping that we can still do a Spin Sisters day with you guys this season, and just make it a bit of a bike party, like have a barbecue afterwards, and we'll go for a ride and hopefully barbecue. And then I know you guys also offered to take a Spin Sisters group out on a tour of Razor's Edge, which should be pretty amazing as well. Yeah. So
I hope we can do it. I hope we can do it. Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so you've talked about some of the projects or the one project at the Nordic Center that CAMBA is working on currently. What are some of the other projects that you're working on at the moment, and which ones will be able to go ahead in light of the COVID-19 situation?
Okay, well, so yeah, the enduro free ride trails more in the planning phase of things. We are working on the Razor's Edge Connector Trail, which is a big one, in collaboration with the Canmore Trail Alliance, and I can explain a little bit about that more later. But it's a project that we needed to do to be able to sanction Razor's Edge, and sanctioning Razor's Edge. The importance of that particular trail was that if it wasn't sanctioned, it was probably gonna go away and get shut down. The right of way along the Trans-Canada Highway, where riders ride back from once they descend Razor's Edge and they ride back to where the cars are, is extremely frowned upon by Transport Canada. There's potential for someone to go over the edge. There's potential for rocks to get thrown over the edge. They're just and then once you're down there, they just don't want bikes on the highway. So what this is it removes that need to ride along the highway, and it provides a really exciting trail that's in the forest, and basically it just connects you back to where your car is. It's got some awesome features. We built out to the Alpine this season, and so I think the building's going to go quite fast if we can get out and build in groups. And there'll be some interesting, fun features that we'll add to make it so that people will want to take this connector. I mean, it's always difficult to shut a trail down and tell people not to go somewhere, and but you want to give people an option that's exciting, that they're going to make that choice and say, no, I'm going to go this way because it's well built. It's a sustainable trail that's got some fun features, and I mean, who wants to ride on the highway anyway? So yeah,
definitely, yeah. So
that's the one that's going on with basically with the land manager there is Alberta Parks. It took a lot of work. It was difficult to get the ability to work on that trail because Canmore's kind of unique to the land managers. There's so many of them, and it's a trail will cross like numerous land managers. And it's very difficult to build a trail when you have all these different land managers that are associated with it. So a lot of great work was done with getting the public lands, Alberta public lands, who aren't really familiar with these types of recreational trails, to hand over that trail to Alberta Parks. So now when Alberta Parks, it's in their jurisdiction, we can work with it. And there was some really good, really great work done by Nancy Ouimet, who's with Friends of Kananaskis and the Canmore Trail Alliance, to help facilitate that. And because that's now Alberta Parks Trail, we can work on it. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
The other project we're working on is with the town of Canmore in Quarry Lake Park. It's a connector trail that it kind of goes in an area. It's where there's a lot of dog walkers, a lot of just kind of a spider web of walking trails, goat trails, whatever you want to call them, to build they're all multi-purpose trails, but to build a trail that hopefully take the mountain bikers off of some of these other double tracks where there's some walking going on and dog walking, and just kind of put them into mountain bikers into this kind of a green trail that's really got some fun flow, and it's got some really interesting corners, and it'll take you from Peaks of Grassy through Quarry Lake Park and kind of get you to the Quarry Lake Park parking lot where you can continue on to the Nordic Center to ride. So it's a challenging build, and it's a build that we use volunteers for exclusively up to this point. We're trying to work with the town to be able to bring in some mini excavator to do a lot of the hard work, the digging. It's just, you get in there, it's difficult. You get into an area and you find like there's all this organic material, like a foot of it. And you have a trail day and all people are doing is just like digging it out, wheelbarrow, fill. It's fun the first time, but after a while, there's a better way to do it. So that's kind of what we're trying to do with that project. Those are the two build projects right now. The other thing we're doing is doing a lot of planning with Three Sisters Mountain Village through working with them closely on their as their development evolves to make sure that recreational trails are a part of their development. And
Nice.
that's why they signed a memorandum of understanding with CAMBA to work with them on this. It's been really, really good. As a result of this, there's two popular trails that go through their land. One's called Loki.
Oh yeah.
The other's called Quebexican. We worked with them to essentially get those trails sanctioned this past year.
Nice.
We changed the name of Quebexican for various reasons, but we went to the original trail builder and asked him what he would like to call the trail, because we didn't want to call it Quebexican. And he wants to call it Guy Lafleur, so it's called Guy Lafleur.
Nice.
And so there's going to be a lot of. What's that? Sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say I've done quite a bit of coaching on Loki, so that's a great beginner intermediate trail to take newbies on. Yeah. It
is, and it's a connector trail that it's the trail that can get people from Three Sisters to the town or to the Nordic Center. It's used a lot.
Yeah.
And one thing we realized is that with Three Sisters development, that trail is going to be gone soon. So they're going to be, so with our involvement, we're working with them to figure out ways to reroute Loki's so that it will still exist. And I think actually from what some of the things I've seen that Andrew's come up with is it would exist and it'd be more exciting and have way better views than it has right now. So that's the work in progress. And that's kind of besides that kind of planning, and it's, what's funny is Loki's, I didn't know why it was called Loki. And I was kind of thinking about where's Thor and where's Odin and all these other trails. And then a guy that's been doing a lot of trail building in Canmore for a very long time that we worked with through the CTA, his name's Ken Davies. That was the name of his dog.
Oh.
So the trail's named after his dog. I had no idea.
Aw, that's
pretty
cute.
Cool. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So that trail is, it's going to move and we're going to work on moving it. So what we're doing with Three Sisters this year is we're putting up signage for Guy Lafleur and Loki's. And we're also going to put up signage to let people know when they're passing through a wildlife corridor. So
yes,
that's an important thing. And it's very important to Three Sisters to make sure there's awareness for wildlife corridor. And so that's part of the signage that's happening. And the other thing that we're working with them on is winter fat bike grooming.
Nice. So. Yep. That's awesome too. Yeah. Because Loki's would be great on a fat bike.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it'd be great on a fat bike. Quebexican I've done it on a fat bike before too. There's some tough parts but we could groom that. And there might be some other opportunities to look at putting in some, we put a proposal in for some pop-up fat bike trails to only be there in the winter, and then so on some of the lands that aren't developed yet. So we'll see where that goes, but that's in our plans too. So
nice. And so who would groom the fat bike trails? Who would be responsible for that?
Well, we're planning to purchase a snow dog next season. So
awesome.
We've put in a grant with the Canmore Rotary Club, and we were successful at raising $2,500 for that. So we'll continue with some fundraising. There's been individuals in the town that say, hey, I'll put in $500, I'll put in 1,000. So that's the intent, is to buy a snow dog, groom the Three Sisters Village trails, maybe some pop-up trails, and then maybe look at some of the town trails that we'll approach them about too. So
nice. That's exciting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And then, okay, so I know you mentioned a wildlife corridor. What makes the wildlife corridor special? Like why are they signing those particular areas?
Well,
because I know wildlife corridors have become an issue in Quarry Park as well. Sorry to interrupt. I know that I know that wildlife corridors have become an issue in the Quarry Park dog park as well. So I don't know if you're encountering that with your trail through the Quarry Lake area as well. But anyway.
Yeah. So Quarry, where we're building our trail it's not in the wildlife corridor.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's actually in an interesting area that you kind of don't want wildlife into it, because you're on either side of it, on the outer rim of it is the Spray Lakes Road, and then the Spray Lake. It's kind of a pinch point for wildlife. They have nowhere to go that's safe when they're in there. It's a very small area, so there's no concern about that. particular trail project. The Three Sisters Mountain Village, there's a lot of, there's the new wildlife corridor has been approved, which goes towards Smith Creek, so towards their new development, towards Dead Man's Flats area. But there's a lot of wildlife corridor that, that's the thing about Canmore, it's a narrow valley. You have a lot of along the valley wildlife corridors, and then you have a lot of cross valley corridors, right? Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of, the Highline Trail is above the corridor. It's called Highline because it's above the wildlife corridor. To climb it, you need to go through it. But when you don't want to ever go along and through a wildlife corridor, you want to get in it and out of it as quickly as you possibly can. So that's how Highline was designed, right? You go through the corridor, you're above the corridor, and then you dive down through. So, but that's what, below Highline, this wildlife corridor up to you get to kind of that Quarry Lake Park area and to the road in certain areas. And then you have those cross valley corridors, and there's one in particular that's kind of goes just below Highline, kind of peaks of Grassy, and then goes. They call it the tipple because it's a mining term. That it's an area that was used for mining, but that's a corridor that we really want to try to keep people out of it. We want to keep people out of as many corridors as possible, and it's it's a challenge because there's a lot of wildlife corridors. I think TSMV has allocated 60% of their 1,500 acres of developable land to be wildlife corridors. So, wow, just an example of they're everywhere.
That's significant. Yeah.
So we need to work around them and do whatever we can to kind of focus people away from them, focus people away from unsanctioned trails that are not maintained, that are in wildlife corridors. We don't want
fair
that.
Enough. Yeah, fair enough. All right, so my next question is, if you can just tell our members a bit about the Chill to Shred Save the Bed initiative. So you have your shirt on, so you're representing.
For this, so yeah, it's a very cool idea that Marcus Henry and Simon Hirota, who are the founders of Steeds, came up with, and it's like, how can Steeds help through this COVID-19 crisis? And one of the things that are the mottos of the Steeds team is to just send it, and to do some rad riding and kind of, I know it makes my partner nervous when I just send it, right, Sarah? Because I'm 47 and I probably shouldn't be sending anything. Anyway.
You're never too old to send it, I don't think.
Yeah. But so they've created these like little stickers that go on your handlebars to just remind you that during this time, maybe don't take those risks that we take, that we often take when we're mountain biking. Because if we take up a hospital bed, we're taking up resources that are precious right now. And we don't need to do that. So it's up to us as the rider to just kind of maybe tone it back a little bit. So Steeds came up with this great idea, this initiative. So CanSign, which is a company in Canmore, a friend of everyone is Mike, who owns the company, donated the stickers, and CAMBA got involved by helping out with the finance, dealing with all the financial part of it. We basically leaned on our registration, our membership system that we already have and pay for, to say, hey, this is a good way to save fees. We'll take care of running all the money through everything and take all the orders. So one of the CAMBA volunteers, Justin De Oliveira, who's our IT guru, is amazing, and he's done a lot of work with that. So yeah, we've sold out of stickers a couple times, but if anyone's interested, they're not expensive. They're $6 for 3 stickers plus shipping, so $8. A lot of them in Canmore, Marcus just gets on his bike and hand delivers them, and we'll mail the other ones that we have to. And all the funds, everything goes to Hope for Hospitality in Canmore, which is to help the service industry who's not working right now with buying them gift certificates to purchase food and things like that. So,
and that's an amazing initiative, because I heard that unemployment in the Bow Valley is up to 85%, up to high as 85%. So that's significant.
Yeah, it's well received. I mean, it's pretty cool. Pink Bike did an article on it. It's getting shared everywhere, and the stickers. I mean, we're selling stickers. I'm sure I've just heard about a couple from Saskatoon, and I mean, the word's getting out
Nice.
there, right? And it's,
Yeah,
I think, hopefully we don't have to chill the shred too long, but hey,
definitely.
I know there's moments where I've looked at something, I'm like, yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Well, no, don't do that anymore.
No, yeah, not right, not right now. No, fair enough. Okay, and so my next point here is on trail etiquette and how members can lower their impact on the trails during this time of year. When things are melting and yeah.
Well, I think, so it's, the thaw happens every year. We have this conversation, or we try to get a message out at this time every year. And especially now it's tough because everyone's been cooped up. They just want to get out. I mean, spring is here finally. Let's go ride our bikes.
Yep.
The unfortunate thing is that the trails aren't ready yet. So there's two things. One, the trails aren't ready in numerous places, but Alberta shut down their provincial parks. So Greater Bragg Creek, the Bragg Creek is closed, right? The gates are shut, and you can't park your car there or you'll get a ticket on the road.
Yep.
So if you want to go ride in Bragg Creek, you got to ride from the town or somewhere quite far away. And I don't think people are going to be doing it. BC doesn't want Alberta plates there. They've been very vocal about it because of the COVID reasons, and they don't want to tax their health, their very precious resources for healthcare, and that's fine. So the Nordic Center's closed too, but you can access it and you're allowed to ride it if you just can't park your vehicle. But it's pretty easy to ride to the Nordic Center compared to Bragg Creek. So there's going to be a lot of traffic, and there has been a lot of traffic to Canmore, which kind of compounds the issue of those trails being able to handle it when they're going through their thawing process. So, I think as far as trail etiquette goes, if you want to ride, check the conditions. It's, Canmore's pretty. There's this, like, the north side of the highway is the sunny side. It dries up the quickest.
Yeah.
Right now, it's probably in that it's the sloppiest right now. The south side of the highway, the Highline Trail we talked about, Guy Lafleur, Loki's, things like that, portions of the Nordic Center, but the ones that are in the dark, you could ride them in the morning.
Yeah.
I think early in the morning, but when things turn into afternoon, I don't think anything's good right now. So the thing that does the most damage is when people come, they think that they're going to do a favor by not going through a muddy, sloppy puddle or something like that, and then they go off the trail. Well, that's probably the worst damage, is just creating more erosion and just widening the trail. Like we don't want to do that either, right? So it's a delicate time. It's not a long time. Like that bench side of Canmore dries up pretty quick. So I think it's keep your eye on and trust your instincts too. If you think it's just not good, and if you're going to come out of that ride all muddy, I mean, it's not the funnest thing anyway. So I just say get on the road bike for another week or two, and then we will be ready, right? The challenge too is that with COVID-19 and the ability to send crews out to fix the problems that happen during the spring thaw is going to be a challenge. The Alberta Parks funding, Alberta Parks have their own crews small crews. It's gotten smaller every year, and this is the worst year because of cuts. But for them to get out and fix things, it's just not going to happen. So you're gonna live with a lot of these problems, a high percentage of these problems, just throughout the season right now. That's the tough part.
No, fair enough.
And we don't want to, we don't want to, we get it. People want to ride, so it's just just do it responsibly and think about it. And if you could think of something else to kind of get you out of the house for the next couple of weeks, maybe do it.
Fair enough. Well, like you said, it's a good time maybe to get on your road or cyclocross bike, do a road ride or pathway ride in Calgary or something. I don't know. Yeah.
I know it's hard. It's not the most exciting, but it gets you outside, and at least
exactly
the roads aren't busy, right? I mean,
the roads are not busy.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to talk about is how CAMBA is funded and the impact of the UCP cuts to Alberta Parks and the trail crews, we're talking about, and how this will affect CAMBA's ability to carry out its mandate and work.
Okay. So CAMBA's funded through donations. We are funded through our membership revenue, and that is it. We've been applying for grants. I mentioned that Rotary grant that we got for the Snow Dog. We've applied for the grant for the Enduro Trail. The second application, we got denied on the first application. These provincial grants have been also significantly cut, and so your competition pool is, your pool's big, your pool's small money, but everyone wants it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. So there's been some good private donations. We have, it's pretty much it. Like we're a very lean organization. The budget cuts that are there they impact us numerous ways. One is just purely the relationships of the staff that we have with Alberta Parks. I mean, it takes a while to build relationships, to build trust with the Mountain Bike Advocacy Trail Association and the land manager. And my concern is that these people could be gone in June, right? I mean, I think COVID.
There's already been quite a lot of layoffs, I think, at Alberta Parks in particular. Yeah.
There has been. I mean, the closing of the information sessions of a lot of the cross-country ski community has been affected first, right? There's trail crews that, it's just conservation officers now have been moved out of Alberta Parks and are under another jurisdiction, but there's probably not many of them, and it's everywhere. So that's the negative side of it, I think, is that people that we're used to working with might not be there. I hope that's not the case, because they've been excellent. They're trail crews that are small. They're still important. Getting to, not even thinking about mountain biking, but getting to backcountry camping sites and things like
definitely.
that. I mean, it's hard, right? You can't rely on volunteer organizations to do a lot of that work. So there's that side of things. When I think about, maybe there's also an opportunity for CAMBA right now to take more of a proactive role, more of in the maintenance, helping them out with their problem and maintaining trails more than we have, getting access to more than we have. I think that's going to happen. Like, we can help them, assuming that we can get crews together and be able to work in small groups, right? So CAMBA has its own occupational health and safety policy and manual that was put together this winter, which Alberta Parks and every land manager that we work with is very happy we have it. We have safe work practices for numerous activities that we do, and working with COVID-19, we're just in the process of putting together a safe work practice for that. How do you spread yourself across the trail? How do you have a tailgate party? Not party, meeting.
Afterwards.
That's for after. How do you have a tailgate meeting? And you got to keep your distance. And then what about touching tools that others have touched? And so when you're on the trail, there's this, the circle of death is talked about on swinging a tool. Like, everyone's spread out, but it's what happens in between and after that we need to consider. So, but if there's a way to do it, and then it gives us the opportunity to help Alberta Parks out right now with that, and getting some of these trails repaired, maintained. It'll be interesting. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting year.
It is going to be an interesting year. And so Spin Sisters, I've mentioned this to our members before, but CAMBA has offered us a discounted membership this year of $25. So that's one way to help you guys out with your fundraising and with your efforts going forward as well. So
thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, we rely on that for our funding. There's a lot of hundreds and hundreds of hours are getting put in behind the scenes on a lot of the projects I mentioned, but also on government meetings and letters. And I have a meeting on Friday with our Canmore MLA, Miranda Rosen, to talk about trails. So, I mean, it takes up a lot of time, and we're happy and love to do it. But having that membership number behind us is is so important when we're applying for grants and we're talking to our MLAs and to our deputy ministers, assistant deputy ministers, and trying to just advocate for the sport. When I can say that, you know, CAMBA has 375 members, that's great. I mean, that's a big number from where we started. And you know, I'm hoping that, you know, that number will have a 4 in front of it next season. And, you know, it's kind of like our membership drive was supposed to happen on April 1st. That's when our memberships are due. That's when we're supposed to have our AGM in April. And then COVID-19 happened. And then people started losing their jobs. Businesses started having to shut down. So what we did is we said, okay, listen, we're going to, for now, like, we don't know how long this is going to be, but when it happened, we said, we're just going to carry over everyone's membership to July 1st. Like, we can do that, you know, just you're a member, and then we'll kind of see where we're at on July 1st. We do have costs, like insurance is a big cost of ours to insure each kilometer of trail that we're responsible for. If there's liability insurance, there's director insurance, there's costs. We're not a high cost, we're not a high you know, G&A type association, but so yeah, we'll see. We rely on the numbers more than anything, and the membership dollars for sure help. And there's been a lot of businesses that have just, ever since the beginning, we've had businesses in Canmore that have said, you know, they're going to offer discounts for members. So the 3 bike shops in Canmore offer discounts. Edible Life, Ray Eclipse Coffee, and Bear Cozy and Strides Canmore just joined. And then a restaurant in Three Sisters called the Market Bistro has given 10% off your bill. It's been amazing. Nice. And then we just recently got signed up. The bike shop in Calgary is now a membership partner. So they offer 15% off if you're a CAMBA member. So I feel like the $25 or the $35 for you know, general membership can get paid off quite quickly with the generosity of these partners that we have, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. Everybody wants to support the trails as they should.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The support's been really, really good. And every year our membership's gone up, and just having other businesses join us as becoming partners, like Strides and Canmore and like the bike shop in Calgary recently, it's really nice. We really
it's awesome. Okay, so now my next thing I wanted to just chat with you about here is how the funding of the trails in BC is different to Alberta, and how BC has been able to create these mountain bike tourist destinations. Well, like you mentioned before, you know, like the North Shore Mountain Bike Association and SORCA, like the Squamish Off Road Cycling Association, that they're very well funded, and I know they get a lot more provincial grants and funding. So it's different. Yeah, it would just be great to see some mountain bike towns pop up more. So like Canmore and Bragg Creek and Crow's Nest Pass. Anyway, if you want to just speak to that.
Yeah, it's something that. So you know, our current government has set some pretty lofty goals as far as increasing tourism in Alberta. It's difficult when they've also cut, you know, funding to one of the, what I think, an infrastructure that brings tourists, like in those examples you mentioned. So what we've been trying to do, Wanda Bogdan, who's a co-founder and also so on the board, but she also is founded called Ride the Rockies Foundation, which brings all the associations in Alberta together so that we can all communicate and share ideas.
Awesome.
So she's had a lot of meetings with the ministries of tourism in Alberta, with our MLA, with the parks ministries, to try to get this message out and help represent all the mountain bike associations in Alberta. So BC does an amazing job. They have Mountain Bike BC, which has been created. They have mountain bike tourism symposium every second year that the NSMBA and IMBA put on, that Wanda's gone to the last couple of years. And
last year I saw it was in Whistler. It was like in October. Anyway.
Yeah, it's amazing that I think it's because of the work that SORCA and WARCA have done on economic impact studies that they've done. I mean, the numbers are outstanding.
Yeah, it's really smart of them.
It's smart. You got, like, data is everything, you know, and it it really helps policy, and it helps bring, shine a light on something like trails. The trails are actually attract a lot of tourism dollars, right?
Oh yeah.
Like we all go to Sedona, Momoa, whatever. Like we go to travel to bike. That's kind of, once you become a mountain biker, that kind of turns into your vacation plans.
Definitely.
Right?
Yep.
So I think, I think things are in the works. I'm really happy that Ride the Rockies and Wanda are working on this on behalf of all the associations. We're involved just as one of many.
Mm-hmm.
Golden has a lot of really cool trails. There was a trust, the CBT, which is why is it escaping? Something Basin Trust. Anyway.
Is it the, it's escaping me too. The Columbia Basin Trust?
I think so.
Yeah.
The Columbia River Basin, right? Yeah.
Or Columbia River, yeah, so it's,
Yeah. CBT. So, and that's why that area in Golden's called CBT, but there's a lot of money that's come in for trail infrastructure to BC from that trust, right? We don't have that.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing. I think we're extremely lucky at the Nordic Center to have such a great trail network that's free for everyone to use. We cross country ski as well. Sarah and I cross country ski, and we'll buy a membership. We might not get our full value's worth, but I feel like I'm giving also to the mountain bike trails. So, so yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I think there's like, how are they going to achieve the tourism target with some of the restrictions on trail? One thing might be that maybe there will be a pay to use, or maybe I don't know. I mean, they got to find the money somewhere, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's something we keep reminding them how important a trail is to bring people to a town, to an area. And it's, just go across the border. It's evident.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then, the other thing I wanted to just touch on as well is your thoughts on the popularity of alpine riding now, and the free ride movement, and doing all of these scree rides and everything else. Is bike packing, all that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts on?
We don't get a lot of a lot of it's happening in Kananaskis country, and we don't have a lot to deal with the alpine ride movement. We know, personally, we all know people that will hike their bike up to these crazy places and ride down. It's been talked about in meetings that we've been with land managers, particularly Alberta Parks. I know there's concerns about how are people getting up there. I mean, these aren't sanctioned type trails, right? This is kind of like pick a peak, just like a hiker would, and climb at your own risk, or bike at your own risk. So I don't know. We definitely don't talk about it at CAMBA. It's probably something, it's kind of happens. I think it happens a lot in that kind of between Moose Mountain and CAMBA's area, in that Kananaskis country area. Yeah. But I know, all I know is what land managers think about it. And I think there is frustration with the fact that it's not something that's sanctioned. Someone gets hurt. You always hear about that, right? I don't know. It's interesting. But it's something that we really don't face or discuss much. So
I find it an interesting discussion, just to comparing it to hikers and alpine climbers, and even put backcountry skiers into that group as well. It's just accessing any area in our parks. But anyway, biking is a bit different. Anyway,
I know.
It's kind of something that's a lot more people seem to be wanting to pursue. Seems up and coming. So
yeah. I mean, if somebody wants to climb up there and put the bike on their shoulder, it's, hey, hats off.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Cool. Well, those are all the questions that I had for you tonight. Is there anything else that you want to add? Is there anything else you want to tell our members, or
I think I mean, I'm very, very it's great about the Spin Sisters getting involved more with not just CAMBA, with all trail associations. We really appreciate the donation from the money that everyone, there's a portion of your membership goes towards trail associations, and that is fantastic. We really love seeing, CAMBA specifically loves seeing volunteers come out from the city and get involved, city riders getting more involved with the trail associations that aren't necessarily in the city. And we'd love to, we look forward to having you out for some volunteer days. We look forward to you becoming members and continuing to be members, and hopefully look forward to also if anyone's interested in volunteering. And you don't have to live in Canmore to volunteer. We can do everything remotely. We're proving it. This experiment over the last 5 weeks has been pretty amazing, right?
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of work. The board's busy, but a lot of the work happens at the subcommittee levels. So we'd be really happy to get people to help with, if anyone's interested in social media and fundraising and grant writing and in trail building. It's let me know. Like send a note to chad@camba.ca or contact@camba.ca, and we'd be happy to have you out. I think it's really awesome to have an all-female mountain bike group from the city involved. It's great. I'm so excited about it, and appreciate this interview, this time to maybe people can learn a little bit more about CAMBA, about Chill the Shred, about what we're up to, and maybe next time you're out there, you'll see the trails a little bit differently.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great way to end our discussion, Chad. So yeah, if you're okay with it, maybe do you mind if I post your contact information when I post this video as well? If people want to get in touch and contact you directly about ways to get involved, and
yeah, for sure, you bet.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Chad. And like I said, I hope we're able to get out and do a trail building day with you guys later on this season, because I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I hope so too. And if not, well, we'll just ride together too. We'll figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah. No, definitely. All right. Well, thanks a lot, and thanks everybody for joining and watching. Yeah, we'll be in touch again soon, Chad.
All right. Take care, everyone. Ride safe.
Talk to you later.
Happy trails.
See ya.